Okay, this is just for a preparation of a new search that I will be doing, but I cannot do the search right now. I don't know the questions. I only can answer the questions. If I don't know the question, how can I have the answer? And right now, the only thing I know is the situation, so I'll tell you what the situation is. You see, we have the heart, and I don't understand the whole heart. You see, in order to understand it, you got to understand all the doors and windows. You have to know how it goes in and how it goes out and what goes in. And the pressures, because the veins have to be strong enough to hold all the pressures, because if it's not, it'll bust. So we take the water pressure, or the pressure in us, or if we have too much pressure, we'll bust and we'll scream. And we know it's not right to scream, otherwise we're using our mouth for something to do other than better. So we did worse. So we should shut up. Shut up. That's all it is to shut something down. You shut it up to shut it down. You shut it off to turn it on. You turn it on to shut it off. It's always the same. So now what I want to tell you is that something to do with the roulette wheel that equals to 36, and 2 is 38. Does anybody know anything about 38 except for 3 and 8 is 11? Or 3 minus 8 is 5. So one way it goes to 11, which is the best in crap, and everybody knows crap is no good. And the other way it goes back down to 5, and 5 is the middle. So how bad is the game? What is the 36? Is it 1963 and the roulette table tells the time of the man of God, the man of man, of all man is come, and he was born in the 6th of the 3, the pregnant 3s make him 1963. Therefore, in Baccarat, 6 and 3 is 9. It is perfect for the perfect man who was born and given the number 4. For all the directions, he was given the same number. Thus, when he called himself for the 4 directions, he knew what he was doing. Thus, he was able to read it and tell himself where he was going. Because where he's going and where he tells himself is where he wants to go. And that's his decision for him to take. Although he takes nothing, when he takes the decision, what he takes is himself and brings it to where the decision is. Sometimes he's invited, sometimes he's not. So he crashes. So he crashes out. And he crashes altogether, or he crushes. So just be very careful what you step in front. Because if you stop and you step in front of the wrong thing and it falls on you and it hits you in the head and knocks you out, if the blood flows red on the ground, it don't flow in your body. So therefore the blood is in the E-game, and the E-game, once the blood flows, it takes you away with it. And don't forget, we got a pussy. It's right there. The pussy is the tail. A hole is what we don't want because we're buried in it at the end. But if we don't have the whole story or the whole of anything, we have no connection. So therefore, when we smoke and we blow it out, we have to make sure where we're blowing it, because the smoke inside of us will mix up all the ways. No matter which ways you would know, we wouldn't know anything. The only thing I can think of is the 28 days, and when man becomes perfect, it's 8, and 28 and 8 is 36. That's what the 2 perfect men, or God and the angel, whichever you are looking for, the total is 38. Total number on the roulette wheel. Figured out by figuring out what God had to tell us. We figured out his story. He was telling us the story, and while he was telling us, he was asking us. He was asking and telling, he was taking and giving, but everything was good. Because God is an Indian giver. Because he takes, when he takes the information from us, he always gives us back something, and the thing he gives us is the greatest thing, if you can remember. If you can hear me, you know what the greatest thing is. I don't hear you, can you tell me? We look for love. But love is the love of our life. So therefore, when God loves us and gives us something, he gives us life. Because we love ourselves, and we want to screw ourselves by screwing somebody else. And we screw everybody in the wrong way, and we lose all our friends. Then, therefore, we are the I with no dot. Then we stand alone with a cap on the top and a cap on the bottom. We got no walls, therefore we're only 2. Until we get it right, we don't double up. 2 and 2 is 4. 2 minus 2 is nothing. So depending on how you use yourself is what you will find. And if you don't use yourself properly, it'll be minus. And then you'll disappear like you meant nothing at all, but just a mem of a memory. M to M-A, mem for the mem of the M-A of the memory of the man. M-A in French. M-A. M-man, A-angel. You see, the end of this story is telling the start of the next story. The A-li-N is A-li, like fleur-de-lis, that flies is the bird, N-E-N. It ends the story, but it begins the story. A-li, God, with the E-man, the I and the E. They come together again to start over. And if you're good, he'll use you. Because you were a good piece to play with. You were a good piece in the puzzle. So when he has all pieces in the puzzle, he'll keep those and throw away the rest. So the rest of the man that don't pay attention to the rules, that don't care any less in the game, they won't be here ever again. I won't know them because I try and stay out of the trouble. And I stay around and away from those who won't listen to the words I have to speak. Because I have to make it right and perfect. Because I want no one mad at me. I want everybody happy. So if they're mad at me, and it is man, and it is humid outside, for who we are would be humid of a man, humidity that rises into the air, that rises like the dust, but the dust falls down because it's got no heart. So the dust always falls, and it falls on everything, and it has no liquid in it. So when you see it and you draw a line, everything pulls to the side, and you push it forward with the dot on the end of your finger. And whatever you do with your finger, if there's anything on the floor, that's very little, and dust. But dust, if you really look at it properly, and if you were a really small guy, you see it's just a dot. And it's not that bad. If you put the dust together, if you glue it all up, it'll become what it was before it fell. Therefore, when something falls and you fix it, it's breaking. So you glue it together. GL, which is the goal of the length of the tall man who stands erect. O for the world, and the A for the angel. I didn't say it properly, but that's a glee. G-L-E-E, I said it as glee, but the goal is not the glee, it's the happy of all. The glee is the sadness. It's the length of the two E's of man being with himself. E next to E is not so good. Even though it has a friend, it's the E of the story from the man on earth. It's the E story from earth, from the E game. Two E games, that's two same stories. Thus, something happened, you must have died and come back in the same life. Two E's, E-E, re, nay. Ren or run, or red. But the blood runs red. Nay. Nay, nose. But be careful, because if there's two E's, which one is telling the real story? Although the E goes next to the O, so you know, but we don't know at all. And we don't touch our toes, and we don't pick our nose. But if we take away the end from the toes and you put it on your nose, you'd have a toe on your nose. So you'd have a nose on the toes, but you'd have the same words, but it'd be in a different place, and it wouldn't mean anything, or it means something different because you're pointing in the wrong area. Therefore, the objective is good, but the point of the matter is you're not pointing in the right direction. Therefore, the person you're pointing with or at is not going to the right place. So if you're pointing or putting your finger on your nose when you get pulled over by the police, put your finger on your nose. Well, everybody knows the point of the matter, that the nose sticks out first, and it's easiest to touch, because if you miss the nose, you hit your face. And that would be the white face of the mountain. And if that white face mountain was dark, it'd be the tale of a dark story. And a dark story, once it's told and clear, it becomes white again. So no matter how bad it was, we enjoyed the movie, and the movie was great. And again, the only thing I want to do is to go down to East LA, because East is in Jerusalem and East is in Canada, which is Quebec. But to do the East LA, I got to travel west to get to the East. And I don't have to go far, because if I went around, I go further. But going straight, it's about 3,000 miles. 3,000 miles. 3 for the God and the man and the angel, 1,000 each. So the ransom for man must be 1,000, 1,000 times something. And bipolar, when I got sick with bipolar, I multiplied everything by 1,000, because everything seems so much larger in a different way. And the 10 didn't work anymore, so I couldn't do the calculation. So I brought 1,000 into it, where I can go to 9999, where the clock has 4 spots, but only goes to the 6, where the calendar and year has 4 spots at the end for the year, but you can go to 999, yet on the clock it goes to 6666, but you can't even do that on the clock, because you can't even hit the first 6. You see, the first one comes to be a 1, a 0, a 1, or a 2, 0, 1, or 2, 0, 1, 2. 0 is the man before the earth, 1 is the angel, and 2 is the God, because with God he has the angel and man, so God has to be more than a 1, because if he was 1 he'd be nothing, and somebody else would be more than him because he'd be a plus, and he'd add up something a little bit different. You see, everything fits exactly the way it's supposed to fit. You see, when you get a puzzle, if something doesn't fit, there was an error, it was a mental disorder. Or, in fact, because there wasn't any brain, they just called it a disorder, or out of place, out of order. You see, when you repeat the things long enough, you will eventually find the right word that will sound the right. The right, the right. It's not always to the right, but if you keep to the right and go all the way, you go all the way around till you get to the left. And the left and the right, and the up and the down, and you know which way you're going. You cannot get lost, because you know the distances. If you count, or if they're marked somewhere, But if you don't know the distance, it doesn't matter. Just leave a little dot everywhere, and we'll pick together the dots. We'll play dot to dot, and we'll come home by following the lines in the dots. And that's how you get the I. And you dot the I to follow the road home. And if you don't have any dots, that's why you put them there, to have a dot for direction. Dot, D-O-T, Department of Transportation, because all transport has a direction, and they direct you. You can only drive 13 hours a day. And if you drive 13 hours one day, I think you can only drive 9 the other day. But in all actuality, if you figure it out, it's 11. And 11, 11 is equal to each other. Therefore, the 1 stands next to the 1 to see himself, and then he reflects the whole situation from underneath. 11, 11, standing tall, equal down, war, whichever way you put it, always change. Because when we divide, multiply, and add, or subtract, and we use always the same numbers, we always come up with a different result. Because the grid was different. You understand? Now the grid has to do with something like this. But it's a different grid. You see, this is what I wear, and if you take a look, you see the square in there for the 4? Well, if I take away the plus sign in the center, you see all the red. And if I collect all the red, and I only connect the dots to the red, the bullshit will come after me, and the red will attract it, because that is what the bull is attracted to, because your blood runs red. And you see the white? That's for the cars, because when they flash the flag that's black and white, it means you have run to the end. You have come to the end of the road, and if you are there first, you are the winner, and you get the cup to drink the wine of the vine that held everything together, that attached you, the way you're attached to the car with a seatbelt, and you get the helmet like a kippa, so you can do the directive without anybody bothering you, and you keep cool. C-O-O-L, except watch out that you do not divide the C, because if you divide the C, you have S-O-O-L, or P, if it's death going down, is pool. But Sul, if you take it right, it's Seoul, Korea, or your soul. Your soul. Or if you say it right, or if you drink too much, you are Sioux, or Soul, or stool, or stool pigeon, or you're just a pig, a stool, or you can't even go on a stool. It's got 4 legs, the stool. But at the top, it's only got a dot that's round, and it's not high. But it's low enough that you can sit on the seat and stand on top of the 4 legs. You only needed to 1 leg as a stork to stand on. And he was intelligent and didn't fly away with his wings. And the man needs 2 legs and 2 arms. He flaps and he flaps and he flaps his mouth, but he goes nowhere. And he talks a lot. And the only thing his story tells is it tells the tale. All the tales and of all the stories. And this tale is not so bad, because his tail, or curtail, or curdle of the milk, where it becomes impure of the tail, we do not add to this situation, so we will not add the milk to the meat. Because if the milk needs the meat, everything goes sour, so we have to keep to the story. So that's the way it is. We all know the result, because it's easy, the result. I'm going to win, or I'm going to try to win, or I want to win. So we know the directive gives the result, but yet there is no result because the game hasn't started yet. And you are not playing, although you are a player. You're sitting on the bench. We all sit on the park bench, and last year I went to La Fontaine Park to talk with my friend, to drink a fruit, because the fruits of life are good in your mouth, and it makes your bubble of your tongue, it makes you feel good, because anything that makes you laugh or bubble, that bubbles up, makes you come up and float. And when you're high, you feel good. And we smoke the marijuana, and we do the cocaine or the ecstasy, whatever does us right. But you know, if you want to get lost in this world, do all the wrong drugs to get to the same high, and you'll end up addicted. So when you want to get the high and you're addicted, which is like the dictionary, you can't learn anything because you are so much into it, you're not in it at all, you're out. So you're out to lunch. So you're out of it. So I wouldn't drink at all. So when you do drink, pay attention. When you're happy, you pay more attention. And to pay attention, when you are happy, you want to pay attention because you're afraid that something bad will happen. And if something bad happens and you don't pay the attention, then you're mad. And then it's mad dash to get away from whatever it is. And it is the story of the tale. And when the story is true, no matter how long the tale is, no matter how many curves in the tale, a true story is a true story. And when I tell you the story is truth, they put up a sign at the theater saying, true, trademark, trade man, the crossroads of man, TM, trademark of the movie, R is for the registration, or if you take the 2 parts of the R and you go up and around, you still get the point, and to have to decide whether you'll sign it to take part with 2, because it's your story, you're passing it off, that they will tell the story the way you wrote it. And that's the point of the contract. Con, who they're conning you,